Hey everyone, good afternoon. My name is Gijs Könings. I'm the Policy Advisor for Circular Economy and Sustainable Mobility here at the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Berlin. Thank you for the invitation to talk a bit more about the role of policy in the transition towards a more circular textile industry. It's not only an important topic for our ministry and the government in the Netherlands, but also for our embassy here. So I'm delighted to talk a bit more on that. I will first talk a bit more on the policies that we presented last year in this regard, and then on what we at the embassy do in this respect. So next slide, please. Yeah, circular economy in the Netherlands. It's already been an important topic since 2016. That is when we first presented our vision for a fully circular society by the year of 2050. And to come to that fully circular society, we already need to cut back raw material use by 50% in 2030. That is a very big and ambitious goal. So really to come with more focus, we try to divide them in 5 priority sectors to have a bit more structure and a bit more focus. And those are biomass and food, consumer goods, plastics, construction and manufacturing. And textiles are part of the priority sector consumer goods. Our State Secretary for Infrastructure and Water Management, Ms. Stientje van Veldhoven, she even called textiles the new plastics, because in the past there was always a lot of focus on plastic waste, the plastic soup in the oceans, for example. But the textile industry is as polluting actually as the plastics industry. So it's very important to also come with transitions there. And in order to achieve those transitions, we really need new policies, new rules, new regulations, but we can only do that with the industry, of course, not solely operating, and also with the other member states in the European Union. Here you see a little preview of our brochure for circular textiles presented by the Netherlands Enterprise Agency and Holland Circular Hotspot. I will come to that a bit later. If anyone would like a copy, please reach out to me later so that I can share you a link. Next slide, please. So our policy program on circular textiles. This was launched last year, and it was really launched in order to have a structured vision on how to get to these ambitious goals. So already the 50% cutback in raw material use in 2030. We of course need a roadmap to get there, and therefore we presented this policy program. Initially, this is a Dutch policy program, but we really work closely together with other member states, amongst them Germany, to also come to a European textile strategy, which is the last bullet in this list. We set ambitious targets, for example, via the Denim Deal, which I will explain later on, and the mandatory usage of post-consumer resource materials. With that, we also stimulate circular design, because we believe that a holistic view on the textile chain is really necessary to understand what it contains, what it is, and that you should not only look at the waste side of textiles, so not only at the end phase of the product. Therefore, also the implementation of EPR schemes are very useful, we think. We're currently investigating how we could implement them. And not only in the Netherlands, but also in a European context, so that there is an equal level amongst all the member states in Europe. Also, I think it's very important for consumers to have a clear view on what exact materials are used in a product. Therefore, we think that clothing labels for transparency and quality are very important. But again, this only works when we do it in a European regard, because if all countries in the world would have their own labeling system, that would be a bit difficult. But of course, we look with great interest, for example, in the Groene Knopf initiative, because we think that could be a very good label in a European perspective even. So their cooperation between countries is very important. Also, the circular public procurement is very important to really function as a launching customer, so the government as a launching customer, because for example, in workwear we see, or within the army we see that it's been very successful to be that launching first customer in the circular textiles world. Also, of course, in the end, I already spoke about it a bit before, in the waste part of the textile chain, we also try to improve better collection, better sorting, and the better cutting and cleaning of the products. And we, of course, live up to the 2025 mandatory goal of mandatory separate textile collection, which is already adopted by the European Commission. Also, we try to investigate if we could implement a ban on the destruction of unsold goods, because that is still a big problem, that there is lots of stock of textiles that are not being sold and afterwards landfilled or destroyed. And I think a ban could be a very good alternative to that, but that comes with a lot of ifs and buts. And therefore, we need to do a lot of research in a possible implementation. And therefore, we're very interested in how, for example, Germany is doing that. Of course, this only works when you do consumer campaigns, because the consumer is a very important stakeholder in this whole program. So we really need to also have them involved, and you can only do that with active campaigns. And like I said, this is a Dutch circular textiles program, but we really try to work with other stakeholders to come to a more extensive and a more ambitious EU strategy on textiles, which is expected later this year in the fourth quarter. And this is all implemented again by the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management, which I'm also working for within our embassies. We all have a lot of departments within our little building, but I work for the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management. So these are the goals. Next slide, please. So I already talked about it in the previous slide. So this is an example of what I call a Dutch approach. It's the Denim Deal for the circular denim sector. I call it a Dutch approach because we in the Netherlands think that public-private partnerships are a key to success when you speak about circular economy. You can only do it with the sector and not without them. You cannot talk about them, but you can only talk with them to really achieve ambitious goals. So last year, in the end of last year, we presented this Denim Deal, which is a voluntary agreement along the value chain for the coming 3 years to come to higher post-consumer resource usage. And it is signed by brands, retailers, weavers, collecting and sorting companies, fiber companies, and national and local authorities. So national authority, that is us, the ministry, but also, for example, the municipality of Amsterdam. And this public-private partnership has been very successful so far. We only just started, but we already have a lot of participants. For example, Mud Jeans from Amsterdam, or Fiber Sort, which is a circular fiber solution company. And everybody is already very positive about this first good step. And this is an open invitation to everyone here listening at home to also join us in this Denim Deal. We only just started in the Netherlands, but we really aim to become more global. So please reach out to us if you're interested. Next slide, please. So what is the role of our embassy? So this beautiful building there is our embassy in the center of Berlin. And our embassy is really a connector between the Netherlands and Germany, of course. But what I do and what my role is as the policy advisor for circular economy is to really connect not only Dutch and German ministries, but also Dutch and German businesses, again, according to this public-private partnership theory. I do that with the help of the Holland Circular Hotspot and the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management. The Holland Circular Hotspot is a platform which actually tries to collect all best practices in the Netherlands amongst a variety of sectors to really have a good database of what Dutch innovation has to offer. But they're also very open and very willing to cooperate with other countries. And they already said that Germany is one of their priority countries, because our Dutch circular ambitions for 100% circular economy, of course, do not stop at our borders. We're only a very small country, and we really need other countries to help us in achieving that goal. Next slide, please. So what I did is I reached out to my colleague at the embassy at the cultural department. Her name is Valerie-Anne Hoppermans. She's the cultural attaché for the cultural department. And we started the All Goods project to really see how we could connect, contribute, and inspire Dutch and German stakeholders in the field of sustainable entrepreneurship. Next slide, please. So what is the All Goods Project? The All Goods Project is an interdisciplinary series that touches upon architecture, design, and fashion, because we thought that those are very interesting sectors that could inspire each other and learn from each other, because they all use materials. And we think to come to a more sustainable and circular future, it is also important to use new materials. And therefore, we started this project. We see it as a possible success story, because there is a complementarity between the Netherlands and Germany. In the Netherlands, I think we have a lot of innovative ideas, not only in the field of fashion, but also in design and architecture. And of course, in Germany, there is also a lot of good innovation. But what is even better in Germany, I think, is the high quality of engineering, which is sometimes a bit lacking in the Netherlands. So I think there is a good complementarity between those two, and therefore a good basis for an exchange. We try to organize that exchange and try to host exchange via live workshop, hybrid knowledge sessions, or even online showcasing sessions, like the online showcasing that we did during the Dutch Design Week in Eindhoven last October. Due to the pandemic, of course, we were forced to do a lot online, but we have a lot of plans coming for after the lockdown, hopefully. So I'm going to talk a bit more on that later. And with regard to the workshops, I would like to tell you a bit more on the circular design sprint that we did. Next slide, please. So the circular design sprint workshop was really focusing on the fashion sector. So we had the three domains that I just explained, and this was really touching upon the circular design of fashion. We worked together with local actors here in Berlin, Circular Fashion and Sketch, to develop an interesting program for Dutch and German entrepreneurs in the field of circular design and circular fashion. And we invited them in a virtual workshop, which was new to us all, but due to the pandemic, we of course were forced to do it in that way. And it was actually very, very interesting to see how the exchange came into place and what ideas all the participants had. And they were also, in hindsight, very enthusiastic about this platform and about this possibility to really inspire each other. And they worked on a circular design challenge divided in 5 pieces of clothing. So we had 5 teams, all representing one piece of clothing. And then we tried to really mix the teams based on background, but also based on nationality, so that we again had this bilateral exchange between the two. And then we even invited them, then it was possible, luckily, we were able to invite them to Berlin to have a physical workshop on how they think that policy could change the textile industry. And that is what we discussed during the Policy Lab talk. Next slide, please. So yeah, this Policy Lab Talk was an event that we did on October 1st here in Berlin, where we invited both representatives from the industry. So that was Ina Bude, for example, from Circular Fashion, or Ariana Nicoletti from Circular Berlin, together on stage with representatives from the 2 ministries. So that is Arnoud Passanier from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management and Dr. Ulf Jeckel from the Environment Ministry here in Berlin. And we had an open discussion on what policymakers could do to enhance the transition to a circular textile industry. This was also the start for a very close cooperation between our 2 ministries. So I'm very delighted to also announce that today, that the BMU and my ministry are closely working together to come to a more extensive and better circular textile strategy in the European Commission, because also bilateral cooperation is very important to come to an extensive agenda. So we really try to do that in the coming months, so that later this year all our ideas and thoughts are translated into this program and into this strategy. Next slide, please. Yeah, that was in very brief what we did at the embassy, what our priorities are, what All Goods is. And All Goods is just starting. Like I said, we started on September 9th. And it's only just beginning. So we're very open also for cooperation with other entrepreneurs, both in Germany and in the Netherlands, and also in a variety of sectors. So not only fashion, but of course today we talk about fashion. We even have a student exchange planned, and we also try to see if we can organize virtual studio visits. So if either of you would be interested in working with us, please reach out to me, and also stay tuned via our All Goods LinkedIn page, which is also, I think, mentioned on the event page of this summit. Thank you very much.